All right, Money Duck bringing you another video. This one goes over non-farm on Bitcoin. So this is something I actually did trade today. So I wanted to go over the Bitcoin trade and how I actually traded it and how it played out during non-farm payroll. Now, I don't take news releases and trade right at the news release. A lot of brokers frown on that anyways. So why do that? Why put your account at risk? So um, in order not to do that, you need to decide for yourself, how long do you let it play out before you get in a news trade? So I'm not coming in at 8:30 looking to get into the market on news. Now I'm going to come in and I do two things when I see a 1 minute candle, and that's what I watch on. When I see a 1 minute candle pop up and down like this, I will come in and put like that. I'll mark a high and a low. I want to look for one of those levels to be broken. So if you look at the chart right now, you'd think, well, he went long. He had to have went long. And here we are. These candles are over here at, what is it, 923, right before the US stock market opened. So I was not even in this. And there's a couple reasons. The main reason why is this green zone. So the green zone for me, if you see a zone on my chart, it's going to be green, red, or yellow. That is a 4-hour candle wick on back in the charts. So if I pulled this up to a 4-hour chart, this zone is drawn off of a wick of a candle. So it could be a bearish candle, it could be a red candle, and it's from the bottom of the body to the wick, okay? Or it's from a bullish candle where it's from the top of the body to the wick. Why am I marking the 4-hour wicks? I'm going back and looking for swings in the market, like a major 4-hour shift, a major 4-hour pivot. That's where those are found from. So I go out to the 4-hour time frame and I will look for a decent swing down and back up. And we're not talking just a couple candles. We're talking like 10, 20. You'll see big swings. Just go back on a 4-hour time frame. Look at big swings. Wherever you see that pivot point, mark that wick, because that's a point in the market. That is a price level that the bullish side of the market, the bearish side of the market, we're still fighting over price during that time. That's a 4-hour candle that during that time frame, let's say it's a bullish candle, green one. Well, that during that 4-hour time frame, they were still kind of fighting over price, jockeying over price. Okay. And then if it was a high, then the bearish side of the market kind of wins out and it pulls back. So again, I look at that as a price decision, a pivot point in price. So I will mark that. So I'm not in long here. It looks long. For someone not marking those zones, they took it long. I can guarantee you people took this long. For me, I'm sitting out. I don't like it. It's in the middle of my zone, my 4-hour zone, where the bullish side of the market, the bearish side of the market, were still fighting over price. So why would I want to get tangled up in that? Because that past price struggle could hold up in the future. And right now is the future. So I'm not in. So what I'm going to do is tick over the chart. And I'm putting 20 contracts on. Now you have to look at your trade management risk tolerance and decide how many contracts you're going to put on. It may not be the same, maybe 10, maybe 4, maybe 5. So right there, it pulls down. I also have an old trend line here. That's why it's dotted. It's just an older one. Something I do before news. So before this candle started, you'll see I've got right here marked 10-minute support and resistance level, 10-minute support and resistance level. I was already looking and thinking I would go short because before news, it was here. Before non-farm came out, it was under my 4-hour price pivot, price level, strong support and resistance. So being that it was under that, I'm thinking I'm going to go short if I see an opportunity to go short. If it breaks all the way through the upper level of my zone, then guess what? I'll look for a long position. Okay, that's my plan. Ultimately, I'd love to see it break this 10-minute level because that was a high right before news. So again, with that, you got to kind of decide, are you getting in? Are you going to wait for one candle to close? So right now, it's formed a lower low than this one. Technically, that's a lower high than this one, you know. So right now I could say, okay, I see bearish structure forming. Yes, this high was higher than that one, but again, it's in my zone. I'm not going to look for that to be a bullish signal until it breaks through the top. Pulls back, kind of makes a dumpy little low, high the same, just popped up, popped down, but then this is clearly a lower low than that. Okay, making a lower low, bearish structures forming, pulls back. Again, I'm still not in. I'm not in because it's above my 4-hour zone. Again, I'm waiting for a break. There's my break. So that's when I actually entered. And it's above that 10-minute price. But a lot of times, here's what happens. And you just, whatever it is, news release, reversal, you can call it whatever you want, non-farm reversal. A lot of times on the news releases, sometimes, yes, they'll break one way and continue, like we see a little bullish pattern here, continue on. But a lot of times they reverse. They pull up, they pull all the way back down. So that's where I'd enter. So I sell. My stop loss needs to technically go, there's the recent high. I like using the high above that. So right now I have $1,000 risk. That's okay for me. Now, if you can only risk 500 or you're comfortable with that, then you would put 10 contracts on. If you only feel comfortable risking $250, you put 5 contracts on. It doesn't matter. That again goes to your trade and risk, your risk tolerance basically on your trades. So we have account risk tolerance, but we have trade risk tolerance. Some people can sit there and trade and say, you know what, $250. I'm looking to make at least, I'll risk 250 and make 500. 2-to-1 ratio. And most people are okay with that. When it gets higher, are you willing to risk 500 to make 1,000? Am I willing to risk 1,000 to make 2,000? So again, as your account grows, those numbers are going to change. Okay. My first target should be around the non-farm low. It just should be. And I pull up here and it's a little better than 1-to-1. Not quite. Not quite. If you think that's too far much of risk, you could always pull down to the current high and leave it like that. Well, if I do something like that, that's a little better. And again, this is news, so riskier trade. But again, so now you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, that's better. No 1-to-1. I'll live with that. It ticks down. Now, what we look for is we're looking for price and profit, two different things. We only close on an extension. So when it pushes down, we will close off part of our trade. When it pulls back, we just sit through that. Just sit, wait, and be patient. So when it pushes down, two things we will do. We'll look to close part of our profit out on the pushes, and we look to move our stop. Because if it's extended and pushed down, we can move our stop. So when this just pushed down, that's when we would pull our stop off this high down, minimizing our risk a little bit. Now, that's not enough for me to profit. That's only 230. Okay, I'm not gonna pull profit on that. The pull profit area for you should be what you decide is an acceptable daily living. Okay, so is it right now? We're about almost at 800. So I just know that the farthest it may go is down to this low. So I'm closing out part of that trade. And we'll close out about 16, and I'm going to let 4 ride. So right now I'm putting in a buy order for 16. It's going to close out 16, and we have 4 on. Can I move my stop to break even? I could be aggressive right now, move my stop down here, or I could pull it to break even. Break even's pretty aggressive. But if you want to protect your trade, right now we have 632 locked in. Not the greatest. Well, if you had your stop above here, where I had mine originally, 1,000. If you had your stop here, it was like 6 something. So right now, if you had your stop here above the recent high, then you would be at a 1-to-1 right now. If it pulled back and stopped you out 1-to-1, but we leave our bonus on, our runners. We call that a bonus trade. Right there, it pulls back, almost takes you out. Now again, my stop would be above the high. It would not be down there. And you lucked out if you pulled to break even. So far, you've lucked out. Now, if you had your stop up here and never moved it, yes, you were risking losing on that trade, losing your runners. You'd still been in profit, but you'd have been panicking a little when it pulls back to stop you out. So that's where you have to realize and know where to move your stop as you're going. Now, what we're looking for is a push. That's not really far enough for me. Yes, it pushed down and hit the non-farm low, but we closed out here. So is that enough room for you to say, I want to close out one more? Okay. Right now, it is at this, we closed here, 16. Right now, it pushed and it's lower. It's back to that point. So a double tap there. So at that point, I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to move my order out of the way. Let me go ahead and close one more off. I'm just going to do one. I made a little bit more money on that one. Not a whole lot. But again, all four were up here. So I'm closing out one and gaining a little more profit from that point to this point. Okay. So I'm going to buy one and then stop. We're going to leave there. We're going to look for a really good lower low. This isn't, you could trail tight, bring it down in here. I don't want to see that. I want to see it push below this level. And then if it comes back, there's the push down. Okay. So there's that push down. I should closed out one more on that candle, but I got click happy. So let me close out one more. Got a little click happy, guys. Put in another buy. So there, I just closed out one more. Now I can look to move my stop. So now I'm going to pull my stop down above this high right here. Okay. Now I'm only going to lock in about 61 on the remaining two. We have two runners on. Right now we can close them out 160. Total trade, we're at 776 and some change. So we're going to wait for another push. We only have two contracts on. If we get another push down, another extension, then we're going to close. Is that far enough? To me, no. We just closed the other one out here. If I wouldn't click happy, it would have closed there. So to me, that's not enough distance to say it's given a good push. That is. And also, look what I have there. These 10-minute support resistance lines were drawn right before news. So before the news even came out, 8 o'clock to 8:15, I'm in looking at current highs and lows on a 10-minute chart and marking them for news as my targets, as areas where things may turn. If you look at the moves, when this move happened, look at where it stalled out, right at that 10-minute support resistance level. So that was off the 10-minute chart. Right before this news release, I marked those levels. Well, look at where it just tapped. Okay. So I'm going to close off one more. We got 222 left in the bank here. I'm going to close out and pull a little paycheck out of the bank. We have 222 left. Again, in our bank for this trade. That's bonus money. Okay. Only because we left runners on. Let's close one. Now we're up to what? 887. We could close out the extra 111 and we would be at 998, almost 1,000. And I know a lot of people would say, let's do it. Let's just close it all. For me, I'm going to wait for a pullback and an extension. If I get an extension, I will move my stop. I'm not going to close it all. I don't like to limit my runners because if it keeps running, I want to be in. So at this point, I could move my stop. I'd move it down some, but I'm not going to move it off the current because we've made in good money. 887, I want to give it room to breathe, especially if you've never traded this. There's a push, but I have nothing to do. I can't close out any more partial, guys. All I can do is manage my stop. And until this candle that magically pulled back to this 10-minute support resistance level, imagine that, until that started pulling back, we haven't had a good pullback. So I'm leaving my stop where it is. If that means it comes back and stops me out at a little measly $45, it does. I'm looking for the swings. I'm going to tick some over a little quicker. There you go. Another drop. There's a low. So at that point, low or low, I can move my stop. I never put it right on the tick. Never. Give it room to breathe. I like to go halfway between where I had my stop, or half. As you see, I'm halfway point between these two 10-minute support resistance level. Push down. And that's because a lot of times they'll come back up and test those levels. Another push down. Lower lows, lower highs. I'm still not moving my stop. For me on this, it was, let's let it play out the rest of the day and see where our bonus is at the end of the day, or, after lunch. Another push. At that point, if I was going to move my stop, it's there. So I got 126 I could lock in. That's 1,000 overall on the trade. So again, we could have closed out early and closed out the whole trade, and we can close out now and make 229. But we're going to let the runner go and let it run out through the day. So right there is about 11:30 before lunch. And I think it was 12:30 I left. So at 12:30, I'm still watching. If we get a push down below this low, then yes, I can move my stop. It has to go below that low. If it doesn't, it might be sideways the rest of the day. If I see a huge push down past that low, right now, sideways, sideways, sideways. There's a little push. So when that little push happened, I, guess what, marked that low. I got to see it go past that. Right now it's sideways. That was impressive, but let's get it. Pulled all the way back. There's a push down, but I haven't done a thing. Now, if you want, you could be aggressive and boom. I'd be okay with that. You're going to lock in 162. We got 887 locked in. Again, over 1,000. Great trade. If it pushes past that low, then we can move a little tighter if we want. I'm trying to tick it over real quick. I got like a minute and a half left to do this recording. So right there is about 245. So when you close, do you close right before market? Do you wait till after? So this would be an okay place to close the trade at 162. It's about 3 o'clock. I closed mine, I think about 3:30 is where I closed. Let's see if we can get more candles in. I think I got about a minute left in the recording. Yeah, right there is about 3:30. So that's where I closed, was 3:30. So again, we have, what is this? We're going to get another 288 on this if we flatten out the trade. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to flatten at 3:30. I'm done. Let's go ahead and close. So overall, that trade, which started out way back here and was decent profit, actually came down and you got a little bit of bonus money. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Feel free to share it. Till next time.